Elias Ward never expected his normal evening to turn into something strange, loud, and unforgettable. He was a quiet man, an engineer who preferred peaceful nights, warm tea, and the sound of old space documentaries playing in the background. His apartment on level 28 of the Orion Habitat Tower was usually calm. The only unusual thing about his floor was his neighbor, Lyra Hale. Lyra was friendly but mysterious. She smiled politely, spoke softly, and spent most of her time locked inside her apartment. She received a lot of strange packages, long silver cases, humming crates, and sealed tubes with LAB use-only stickers on them. Elias always assumed she worked in advanced research, maybe robotics or medicine. He never asked questions. It wasn't his business. But on this particular evening, everything changed. Elias sat on his couch, eating noodles and adjusting a small mechanical drone he was repairing, when he heard a sound so sharp it made him jump. It was like metal twisting, like something being crushed from the inside. A split second later came a deep hum, like a generator overloading. Then a sharp crash shook his entire apartment. He froze. The noise had come from Lyra's apartment. At first he waited, expecting to hear her voice or footsteps or something normal. But he heard nothing, no movement, no breathing, no calling for help. Only that strange hum, growing softer but still dangerous, like a machine running out of control. His heart beat faster. Should I check? Maybe she dropped something. Maybe it's fine, he thought. But a colder thought followed. What if she's hurt? What if something exploded? He listened for another few seconds. Still, nothing. That silence scared him more than the noise. Elias jumped up, nearly knocking over his bowl of noodles, and rushed out into the hallway. The lights flickered. A faint vibration trembled through the floor, like something pulsing with energy. He knocked on Lyra's door. Lyra? You okay in there? No answer. He knocked harder, almost pounding. Lyra! Are you hurt? Hello? Heim! Heim! I'm! I'm! Still nothing. Then he heard a soft gasp from inside. Weak. Short. Like someone trying and failing to breathe. That was enough for him. He tried the door handle. Locked. He shouted again. Lyra! Open the door! I think something's wrong. Nothing. Elias wasn't a fighter. Not a hero. Not someone who usually broke rules. But right now, none of that mattered. Someone inside needed help. He stepped back, braced himself, and slammed his shoulder against the door. It didn't budge. He tried again. Pain shot through his arm, but the door shook slightly. Come on, he muttered. Just open. He stepped farther back, took a deep breath, and ran at the door with all the force he could summon. His shoulder hit the panel hard. Something cracked. He did it again. On the third try, the lock gave way. The door burst open, swinging inward with a loud bang. Elias stumbled inside and stopped dead. Her apartment didn't look like a normal home at all. It looked like a whole secret laboratory. Strange, glowing panels lined the walls. Floating screens displayed shifting patterns. Silver instruments hummed softly. The air smelled like heat and ozone, and dust particles sparkled as if charged with static. Cables ran along the floor like vines. And at the center of the room, surrounded by scattered tools and overturned chairs, was a large metallic sphere, smooth, silver, and covered in glowing blue lines. It pulsed softly, almost like it was breathing, but Elias didn't care about any of that at first. His eyes went straight to Lyra. She was collapsed on the floor beside the sphere. One hand pressed weakly against the ground. Her face was pale. Her breathing was shallow. Her hair stuck to her forehead, as if she'd been sweating. Her eyes were half open but unfocused. Lyra! Elias ran to her. He knelt down and gently lifted her shoulders. Hey, Hey, stay with me. What happened? Can you hear me? Her lips moved, but the words didn't form. A sudden sharp pulse of energy came from the sphere, making the whole room shake. Elias looked up. The device was unstable, its lights were flickering in uneven patterns, glowing too bright, then too dim. The hum rose and fell, more chaotic every second. He might not know what the thing was, but he knew enough about machines to recognize danger. It was going to overload. He set Lyra down carefully against the wall and ran toward the sphere. Sparks crackled around its base. Blue lines flickered wildly, like lightning trapped under metal skin. "Okay, machine, whatever you are," he muttered. "Please don't explode." He grabbed the nearest cable, thick, warm, humming, and examined its connectors. It was feeding too much energy into the sphere. If he cut the supply slowly, it might stabilize. Too fast, and it might surge. He quickly scanned the room, spotting a panel with an open toolbox. He grabbed insulated gloves, a clamp, and a stabilizer coil. He didn't know exactly how this system worked, but engineering was engineering. Electricity was electricity. He opened the side panel of the device and flinched. Inside were layers of spinning rings, glowing nodes, and twisting energy strings like floating threads of light. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. But he didn't have time to freeze. He found the main conduit glowing a dangerous bright blue and attached the coil. The hum weakened a little. Then he rerouted 2 cables, lowered the flow, and clamped a resistor into place. Sweat ran down his face. The device fought him, pulsing harder, as if trying to resist stabilization. But Elias kept working, fingers moving fast, adjusting, tightening, balancing. Finally, with one last adjustment, the blue lights softened into a steady rhythm. The rings inside slowed. The dangerous vibrating hum faded into a soft, calm thrum. The entire room relaxed. Elias let out a long breath. His arms shook with exhaustion. But the machine wasn't going to explode now. At least he hoped not. He ran back to Lyra. She blinked slowly as he gently tapped her cheek. "Lyra, hey, wake up. It's okay. You're safe now." Her eyes focused on him with effort. For a moment, she just stared. Then she whispered, almost too softly to hear, "You stabilized it." Elias nodded, though he had no idea what it was. "Yeah, I think so. You're okay now. Let's get medical." But Lyra shook her head weakly. "No, don't call anyone." He hesitated. "You need help." "I'm fine," she whispered, though she clearly wasn't. "Just energy drain." The device reacted too strongly. He frowned. "What is it?" It looked like something from a sci-fi movie. She gave a tired, almost weak laugh. "Something like that." Elias looked around at the strange room again. "Lyra, this isn't a normal apartment. What are you working on?" Before she could answer, the lights flickered again. The sphere pulsed once, soft and stable, but clearly active. Lyra sighed. "I'll explain. Later. But you broke my door." He winced. "I'm really sorry about that. I thought you were dying." She stared at him a moment, her expression unreadable. Then, to his surprise, she smiled softly. Not annoyed. Not angry. Almost grateful. "It's okay," she whispered. "You saved my life." John, no. He helped her sit up, and she leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. When she finally gathered her strength, she reached into her pocket and took out a small silver key. Thin, warm, and slightly curved. She held it out to him. "For you," she said. Elias looked confused. "A key? To what?" "To my apartment." He stared at her. "Why are you giving me that?" "So you don't have to break the door next time." Elias blinked. His heart skipped. He wasn't sure if she was joking or being serious. but her expression told him she meant it. Next time? He echoed. Lyra looked over at the still glowing sphere. There will definitely be a next time. And Elias realized he had just stepped into something far bigger than a broken door. Elias Ward didn't sleep that night. After helping Lyra recover, after watching her energy return little by little, after making sure the strange machine stayed calm, he finally went back to his own apartment. But his mind refused to turn off. He kept seeing that glowing sphere, the flickering blue rings, the inside of Lyra's secret lab-like apartment, and the way she looked at him when she said, "There will definitely be a next time." Most of all, he kept thinking about the key in his pocket. A key to her apartment. A key she gave him calmly, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. He didn't understand any of it. But he knew one thing for sure. Lyra Hale was not just a quiet neighbor. She wasn't just a student. She wasn't just someone who liked privacy. She was hiding something important. Something dangerous. Something big. And now he was involved. The next morning he woke up late. Still tired from the night's chaos. He made tea, but he barely tasted it. Every few minutes, he stared at the silver key on his table. Should he check on her? Should he wait? Should he pretend nothing happened? He sighed. No chance. Nothing is normal anymore. Finally, he grabbed the key and walked into the hallway. Lyra's door was still damaged, a broken lock, splintered edges, and a large crack where his shoulder had hit it. He winced at the sight. He really had destroyed it. Before he knocked, the door suddenly slid open by itself. Lyra stood there, leaning on the frame. She wore a loose gray sweater and looked a little tired, but her eyes were clear and focused. "You're awake," she said softly. "Barely," Elias replied, then gestured awkwardly to the broken door. Lyra glanced at the damage. "It's okay. I'm replacing it today with something stronger. And I have auto locks ready to install." Elias raised a brow. "Stronger? Like reinforced steel?" She shook her head. "Something better." He had no idea what better meant in her vocabulary, but he didn't ask yet. Lyra stepped aside. "Come in. I owe you an explanation." Elias entered carefully, as if expecting something else to explode. The air inside felt different, cooler, sharper, charged with a faint, static energy. The glowing panels were dimmer now, resting. The metallic sphere sat silently in the center of the room, no longer pulsing dangerously. It looked almost peaceful. Lyra noticed his stare. "It's stable now," she said. "I don't even know what I did," Elias admitted. "I just followed basic engineering logic. Cables, power flow, resonance. That's what surprised me," she replied, walking toward the sphere. "Because this isn't basic engineering, not even close." She gently touched the surface of the device. The blue lines flickered softly in response, like the machine recognized her. "Lyra," Elias said, "you told me last night you'd explain. Please, what is this thing? Why do you have a whole lab hidden in your apartment? And why did it almost explode?" Lyra took a slow breath. "Okay, but you have to promise you won't panic." Elias crossed his arms. "I broke down your door and rewired a glowing, alien-looking machine. I think I deserve some answers." She gave a tiny smile. "Fair point. Fair point. Fair point. Fair point." Then she said the words that changed everything. "I work with extraterrestrial technology." Elias blinked. "Extraterrestrial as in, not from Earth?" She nodded. Elias stared at her. "Lyra, that's impossible." "No, it isn't." She walked toward a wall panel and pressed a small button. A hidden compartment slid open, revealing a metallic tablet covered in strange symbols. "Not when the galaxy is bigger than we imagine." He felt his legs weaken and sat on a nearby chair. "So you're telling me aliens exist?" "Yes. Lyra said calmly. They've existed long before humans ever learned to build fire. Elias rubbed his forehead. And you study their technology? More specifically, I study something called builder tech. Builders? He repeated. What, like architects? In a way, yes. She tapped the metallic sphere. This device is a builder artifact. Their technology is ancient, older than any recorded civilization. Mostly ruins and silent machines. No one knows what happened to the builders, or where they went. Elias swallowed hard. So this thing, this sphere, is one of the few functional devices ever found, Lyra finished. Or it was, until last night. He leaned back, trying to process everything. Okay. But why did I fix it? I don't know anything about alien tech. Lyra looked at him slowly, thoughtfully, as if studying him for the first time. That's the strange part, she said. No species has ever been able to safely adjust builder devices, not even with decades of study. Elias frowned. But I wasn't doing anything special. Lyra stepped closer and lowered her voice. Elias. The device responded to you. He blinked. When you touched it, its readings changed. When you rerouted the energy, it stabilized in a pattern I've never seen before. The builder systems acted like you were someone it recognized. Elias laughed nervously. That's impossible. Lyra shook her head. I've been studying this machine for 2 years. It never reacted to me like that. Or to anyone. A chill ran down Elias's spine. So you think, what? That? I'm special? I think you're compatible, Lyra said carefully. In a way scientists never predicted. And if that's true, then this might be bigger than anything I've ever worked on. Elias stared at her, unsure if he should feel honored, terrified, or both. Lyra, he said slowly, what happens now? Before she could answer, a soft beep came from the device. The sphere lit up again, not violently this time, but with a slow, steady glow, like it was waking up. Lyra rushed to her console. Elias stumbled back. I didn't touch anything. You don't have to, Lyra said. It's locking onto your biosignature. My what? She pointed at the glowing core. It's trying to communicate. With you. Elias felt his heart pound. What does it want from me? Lyra studied the readings. I'm not sure yet. But the last time the builders activated a device like this, she paused. What? Lyra swallowed. It led to a discovery that changed everything. A map, a message, maybe even a warning. Elias stared at the sphere, feeling suddenly very small. Lyra, I think we're in trouble. She shook her head. No. I think we're in the middle of something important. Something historic. He watched the machine glow brighter, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. He felt the energy in the air shift, almost reaching toward him. Lyra finally turned to him. Elias, this isn't a coincidence. The device chose you for a reason. I'm just an engineer, Elias whispered. Yes, she said firmly. And that's exactly why you're the one it responded to. Humans have a way of understanding things differently. Not perfectly, not logically, but creatively, fearlessly. Elias stared at her. Lyra, what are you saying? She took a step closer, her voice calm but serious. I think the builders left something behind. And now, for the first time, in thousands of years, someone can activate it. Someone human. Elias felt a chill. But why me? Lyra exhaled slowly. That's what we're going to find out. He looked around the strange apartment, glowing panels, alien devices, scattered notes. and that shimmering sphere calling to him like a silent voice. Lyra watched him carefully. "You can walk away if you want. You don't owe me anything." Endingly, Lyra watched him. Lyra watched him. Lyra watched him. Lyra watched him. Elias stared at the device. Walk away? After everything he had seen? After nearly getting blown up? After breaking a door to save someone and discovering aliens were real? No. Walking away wasn't possible anymore. He took a deep breath and said quietly, "What do I have to do?" Lyra smiled, grateful, relieved, and maybe even proud. "First," she said, "you learn what this machine really is." She tapped the device gently. "And then, we follow wherever it leads." The sphere glowed brighter, as if it heard them, and Elias realized his quiet life was officially over. Elias Ward had always imagined adventures happening to other people, soldiers, explorers, scientists, anyone braver and smarter than him. But now he stood in the middle of Lyra's strange apartment, surrounded by glowing screens and alien devices, watching an ancient sphere awaken because of him. The room hummed with energy. Blue light filled the space like quiet lightning. The metallic sphere pulsed softly, almost like it had a heartbeat of its own. Lyra studied her consoles with intense focus. Her fingers moved fast, typing commands, opening new screens, analyzing every number that appeared. "It's creating a pattern, a projection," she said. "A projection of what?" Elias asked. Lyra looked up at him, her expression serious. "A map of where?" She hesitated. "We're about to find out." The sphere suddenly brightened, and the entire room filled with a floating hologram, shapes, stars, distant galaxies twisting in slow motion. Elias stepped back, staring with wide eyes. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Is that the galaxy?" he whispered. "Yes," Lyra replied. "And it's showing us a path." A thin golden line formed, stretching across star systems like a long trail. It led far away from the known human colonies, farther than even the major alien nations dared to explore. It pointed to a quiet, dark corner of space. "What's out there?" Elias asked. Lyra's face went pale. "Nothing. According to every chart, it's empty space. No planets. No stations. Not even asteroids. Then why is the map pointing there?" Lyra stared at him. "Because that's where the builders want us to go." The next few days passed like a blur. Lyra contacted her team carefully, using encrypted channels. She didn't tell them everything, only that the artifact had activated and required further field study. She didn't mention that Elias had triggered it, or that it was reacting only to him. She knew scientists, and she knew organizations. If they found out a normal engineer could interact with builder tech, they would take him away for testing. Lyra wouldn't let that happen. Instead, she worked with Elias privately. She trained him to understand the basic readings, the glowing symbols, the pulses of light, the device used to communicate. He learned quickly, faster than either of them expected. Every day the device showed him more patterns, shapes, strange sounds that felt like half-formed words. It was as if the machine was waking up slowly, recognizing him more deeply with each passing hour. And Elias began to feel something new. Purpose. He wasn't just fixing machines anymore. He was part of something ancient. Something important. But the map was only the beginning. To follow it, they needed a ship. Not just any ship, one fast enough to outrun the dangerous alien factions controlling the galaxy's outer lanes. One strong enough to survive hyperspace storms. One discreet enough to avoid attention. Luckily, Lyra's organization had access to a small exploration vessel. The Starling. A sleek research ship designed for deep space travel. When the day arrived, Elias stood inside the ship for the first time, staring at the polished metal corridors and humming engine walls. Lyra watched him from the captain's seat. "Still want to back out?" she asked. He shook his head. Too late for that. She smiled softly. Good. The sphere, now placed inside a secure energy cradle on the ship, glowed gently like a guiding lantern. The engines roared to life. And together, they left Earth behind. Their journey started smoothly. The first few jumps through the star lanes were calm, almost peaceful. Elias spent most of his time in the research bay, watching the builder device pulse and shift colors. Sometimes it showed him images, dusty ruins, towering structures, a sky filled with 3 moons. Other times it showed him blueprints of impossible machines. He had no idea what any of it meant, but the device always responded gently, like a teacher showing a child their first alphabet. Lyra watched carefully. "It trusts you," she said. Elias laughed nervously. "That's a strange thing to say about a metal sphere." "It's not the sphere," Lyra replied. "It's the builders." Elias didn't know what to say to that. On the 6th day, everything changed. The Starling entered a region of collapsing hyperlanes, a dangerous place where unstable gravitational forces twisted space like ripples in water. Lyra frowned at her console. "Navigation readings are unstable," she said. "Something is interfering with hyperspace." Elias held onto the railing as the ship shook. "Can we turn back?" "No," Lyra said. "We're too deep in the lane. If we try to reverse, the ship might tear apart." "That's comforting," Elias muttered. The lights flickered. The hull creaked. A deep vibration rolled through the ship like thunder. Suddenly, Lyra's console beeped sharply. "Ships detected," she said, her voice turning tense. "Multiple, closing fast." "Who are they?" Elias asked. Lyra's eyes darkened. "The Silent Dominion." Elias felt a chill. He'd heard the name before, one of the strict alien nations known for their aggressive control over ancient technology. They believed builder relics were sacred and forbidden. Anyone caught studying them faced severe punishment. "Why are they here?" he whispered. "Because they detected the artifact," Lyra said. "They always monitor builder energy signatures." The ship shook again as warning lights flashed. Lyra took control. "Hold on." 3 dark ships appeared on the radar, closing in like hungry predators. Elias grabbed the nearest console. "Can we outrun them?" "In normal space, yes. But inside this unstable lane..." Lyra shook her head. "It's risky." Elias stared at the glowing sphere. "Does it know we're in danger?" Lyra didn't answer, but the sphere did. It suddenly lit up bright, sharp, powerful. Blue lines stretched across its surface like lightning cracking through ice. "What's it doing?" Elias shouted. Lyra backed away from the console. "I don't know." The sphere emitted a soft hum. Then the hum grew louder and louder, and before Elias could react, a burst of shimmering blue energy spread across the ship, forming a protective lattice, a shield unlike anything he had ever seen. Lyra gasped. That's builder shielding. No one has ever activated it before." The silent ships fired beams of bright silver energy. Each beam hit the shield and bounced off harmlessly like rain hitting glass. The Starling drifted safely in the middle of the glowing lattice. Elias stared with wide eyes. "Is it protecting us?" Lyra nodded slowly. "No, it's protecting you." The sphere pulsed again, sending a wave of energy that pushed the silent ships away like leaves in the wind. They spun in confusion, their engines flickering. Lyra seized the moment. "Now!" she shouted, pulling the ship into a sharp dive. They shot through the disrupted hyperlane, weaving between collapsing pockets of energy. The builder shield held firm, guiding them like invisible hands, pushing them along the safest path. Finally, after what felt like hours, the Starling burst out of the unstable zone into quiet, open space. The silent ships were gone. Silence filled the cabin. Elias slumped into his seat, breathing hard. That was close. Lyra sat down slowly, her hands shaking slightly. "Elias, No one in the galaxy can activate builder shields. Not governments, not scientists, not even advanced species. But you. Don't say it, Elias interrupted weakly. I'm not special. Lyra looked at him firmly. You may not want to be, but you are. The sphere dimmed, returning to its calm, steady pulse. Elias stared at it. What do you think it wants? He asked quietly. Lyra turned toward the window, where the distant stars glimmered like silver dust. I think, she said softly, it wants us to reach the end of that map. Elias followed her gaze. Somewhere out there across empty space, through dangers yet unknown, waited a place the builders had marked thousands of years ago. A place they wanted a human to see. The Starling's engines hummed gently. The map glowed like a golden thread across the galaxy. And Elias felt it deep in his chest. A quiet pull. A calling he didn't understand yet. But he knew one thing. They had to keep going. The journey to the end of the builder map took 7 more days of quiet travel. Too quiet, Elias thought. After escaping the Silent Dominion ships, he expected more danger, more chasing, more strange signals. But space remained silent, dark, empty, endless. The Starling drifted smoothly through empty regions of the galaxy where no human, no alien, no explorer had ever dared to go. The windows showed only blackness dotted with cold, lonely stars. No planets. No stations. No life. Elias sat in the research bay with the builder artifact resting inside its energy cradle. The sphere glowed gently, its lights forming slow patterns, like it was thinking deeply. Lyra joined him, sitting beside him on the metallic bench. It's almost time, she said quietly. Elias nodded, staring at the holographic map floating above the sphere. We're close. Closer than anyone has ever been, she replied. The golden line on the projection curved sharply, ending at a point in space that looked completely empty. Elias frowned. Why does it show a destination that has nothing there? Lyra smiled faintly. Builder technology is rarely simple. If something looks empty, that usually means it's hiding something important. Elias sighed. Great. Hidden danger. Perfect. Lyra gently nudged his arm. Hidden opportunity, she corrected. Elias didn't reply. He was nervous, excited, terrified, curious. All the feelings mixed together like some chaotic soup that refused to settle. As if sensing his thoughts, the sphere pulsed gently. The final approach began when the Starling entered a strange energy field, thin, soft waves of shimmering light drifting across the dark space. The ship's sensors reacted immediately. Lyra frowned at her console. Energy readings. Rising. This field isn't natural. Elias stared through the window. Is it dangerous? Not exactly, Lyra said slowly. But it's old. Really old. As the field thickened, Elias felt a strange sensation in his chest. A soft pull. Gentle but undeniable. Like the space itself was calling him forward. Lyra looked at him. Do you feel that? Elias nodded. Yeah. Like, something wants us to keep going. The sphere brightened, confirming his feeling. And suddenly, the empty space in front of them shimmered like a curtain of light being pulled aside. Then, something enormous appeared. Elias's breath caught. A megastructure, huge, ancient, beautiful, terrifying, floated in the void. It looked like a giant ring broken into 3 curved pieces, each piece larger than entire cities. Massive towers sprouted from its sides, glowing faintly with faded blue lights. Strange symbols ran along the edges, glowing softly like old stars. What is that? Elias whispered. Lyra's voice trembled. The first gate. The first gate? Elias repeated. You mean, this is a builder structure? Lyra nodded slowly. One of the oldest ever discovered. Scientists believed it collapsed thousands of years ago, but no one ever found the real location. Elias stared in awe. And we found it. No, Lyra corrected. It found you. The gate looked like a sleeping giant awakened after ages of silence. Even broken and dim, it radiated a sense of wisdom and impossible age. Elias felt tiny before it, like an ant, standing at the foot of a mountain. The sphere hummed, brighter than ever before. It's responding, Lyra said. It recognizes the gate. A beam of soft blue light shot from the sphere, connecting to the broken ring. The entire structure trembled. Lights flickered to life across the colossal arcs. Rotating mechanisms deep inside began to shift, moving slowly like something stretching after a long sleep. Elias swallowed. Is this safe? Lyra didn't answer. She was too focused, eyes wide with awe. The gate began forming a rotating vortex at its center, a swirling pool of shimmering silver light. Elias whispered, "Is that a portal?" Lyra nodded. A portal, a lock, a door, whatever the builders wanted it to be. The sphere pulsed again. The message was clear. Go through. The starling moved closer, carefully, slowly into the heart of the ancient structure. When they entered the silver vortex, the ship didn't shake or twist. Instead, everything became perfectly still. For a moment, Elias felt weightless, thoughtless, like the ship was floating between worlds. Then suddenly, the starling drifted out the other side into a quiet, glowing space. It wasn't a different universe. It wasn't a different galaxy. But it felt like a hidden pocket of reality, untouched by time. A huge circular platform hovered before them, connected to nothing floating in empty space like a stone in a silent pond. Its surface glowed faintly with old patterns. Strange pillars lined the edges, and at the center stood a tall obelisk made of smooth silver metal. The sphere inside the ship glowed brighter than ever before. Lyra stared. This is a builder vault. A memory chamber. Elias felt chills. What does that mean? It means the builders left something here, she replied. Something they wanted someone to find. Someone like who? Elias asked quietly. Lyra's voice softened. Like you. The ship landed gently on the platform. The exit hatch opened automatically. Elias and Lyra stepped out together, the air strangely warm, calm, breathable. The obelisk pulsed with soft light, reacting to their presence. Touch it, Lyra whispered. Elias hesitated. What if it blows up? Lyra shook her head. It won't. It's waiting for you. Elias swallowed hard, stepped forward, and placed his hand on the obelisk. Instantly, light exploded around him, not violently, but softly, like a sunrise blooming everywhere at once. Symbols floated in the air, shifting and spinning. A calm voice echoed without sound, speaking not in words, but in meaning. Elias felt the message inside his mind. The builders were not destroyed. They were not defeated. They left. But before leaving, they created a successor. A species capable of growing, adapting, imagining. Not perfect, not predictable, but brave, creative, human. Elias froze. The builders had made humanity, not as servants, not as soldiers, but as the next generation. Lyra watched him, her eyes filled with awe. What is it telling you? Elias slowly turned toward her. It says, humans were made to continue what the builders started. They believed we could finish what they couldn't. Lyra's eyes widened. That means humanity isn't an accident. No, Elias said softly. We're the key. The obelisk glowed one final time, lifting into the air. A small crystalline item appeared where Elias's hand had rested, a thin, silver key, warm and pulsing with faint light. It floated gently into his palm. Lyra whispered, "What is that?" Elias stared at the key. A gift. A code. Maybe permission. Before they could speak more, the entire structure trembled. A loud alarm echoed from the ship. Lyra rushed to the console. "Elias Dominion ships. They followed us through the gate." Elias's heart jumped. "We have to leave." But the platform began to crack. Lights flickered violently. "The vault is collapsing," Lyra said. "The builders never meant it to stay open long." The sphere inside the ship pulsed urgently. Elias grabbed her arm. Together, they sprinted onto the ship. The hatch shut behind them just as a shockwave tore through the platform. The Starling blasted forward, racing toward the swirling vortex. The Dominion ships fired energy beams, bright silver lines cutting through space. But the sphere activated again. Builder shielding wrapped the Starling in a glowing lattice. The beams bounced away harmlessly. Lyra shouted, "Jumping through the gate now." The ship shot into the portal. Light blurred. Space twisted. And then silence. They were back in normal space, far from the Dominion ships. The gate behind them collapsed, fading into dust and silent darkness. Elias exhaled shakily. "We made it." Lyra dropped into her seat, exhausted but smiling. "We did." Back on Earth, days later, Elias and Lyra walked down the hallway of their apartment floor. Everything looked normal again. Almost unbelievably normal. When they reached her apartment, Lyra took out something small and silver. It was a new key. She placed it in his hand gently. "For you," she said softly. "So you don't have to break the door next time." Elias laughed quietly. But then he opened his other hand. The builder key lay there, glowing faintly. Lyra's eyes widened. "You kept it?" "Of course," Elias said. "It opened one door." He looked at her. "And maybe it'll open more." They stood there in quiet understanding. One key from a neighbor. One key from an ancient civilization. Both leading to something bigger. And Elias knew this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning.